What family tradition did you later discover was illegal? In my family, every Christmas meant the same unsettling ritual. One relative would vanish for an entire year. Not die, just disappear. From December 26th until the following Christmas Eve, no calls, no visits, gone. We thought every family did something like this, until I mentioned it in college, and my roommate nearly fainted before calling campus security. The game worked like this. On Christmas morning, every adult drew a ribbon from my grandmother's antique music box. Whoever got the black ribbon had to pack one bag and leave that night with my Uncle Mark. The adults always said the same line, "It's for the greater good. Someone has to sacrifice." When I was 9, my Aunt Valerie got the black ribbon. She kissed us goodbye, walked out with Uncle Mark, and came back a year later looking hollow, hair cut short, hand trembling. I asked her where she went. She whispered, "Away." When my cousin Leah drew the black ribbon at 15, she sobbed, packing her bag. "It's not fair. I just got engaged," she told me. When she returned, her fiancé was never mentioned again. At 22, I finally drew it myself. No tears. I remembered what Leah once said, "Crying makes it worse when you come back." Uncle Mark barely spoke during the 6-hour drive, chain smoking, while country music buzzed through the speakers. The place wasn't a cabin or retreat. It was a faceless office building in the middle of nowhere. Inside were dozens of people from other families, living in windowless dorms. 16-hour days doing financial data entry, setting up fake accounts, laundering money. Meals were protein bars and vitamin packs. Sleep was rationed. I whispered to another woman, "What is this?" She leaned close. "Money laundering, for whoever pays most. Keep your head down." One man, Daniel, tried to reach his wife. Guards dragged him away. We heard the screams. He came back days later, ribs broken. After 4 months, I saw files left on a desk. Clients included drug cartels, corrupt politicians, terrorist groups. My family wasn't sacrificing members. They were selling us. I endured the rest of the year in silence. Christmas Eve, they drove me home. Uncle Mark handed me an envelope. "Your earnings," he said. "Blood money." When I told my parents, they brushed it off. "Hard work builds character," Dad muttered. "You survived. You're stronger now." But I couldn't sleep. I saw Daniel's broken body, the faces of people who might never get out. So I contacted the FBI. Agent Ramirez listened carefully, then said, "We've been chasing this ring for 3 years. You're our first real witness." By the following Christmas, federal raids hit multiple states. My grandmother, father, and Uncle Mark were all arrested. They freed 130 people, some who'd been trapped for years. I testified against my own family. They were sentenced to decades in prison. My relatives branded me a traitor, but for the first time, the music box stayed shut. Or so I thought. 2 weeks ago, a package arrived on my doorstep. Inside was a black ribbon, tied in a perfect bow. No note, no return address. Just the ribbon, resting in an antique music box identical to my grandmother's. At first, I froze in the doorway, the cold air from outside spilling into my apartment. My heart hammered against my ribs. I testified against my own family, watched them get hauled off in handcuffs, heard the judge sentence them to decades. That should have been the end. But the ribbon said otherwise. I carried the box inside like it might explode. For an hour, I just stared at it on the kitchen table. Same oak finish, same delicate carvings on the lid. Even the faint scratches on the side were identical to the one my grandmother kept on her mantle. But hers was locked away in an evidence locker, tagged and bagged by the FBI. So where had this one come from? Finally, I wound the key. The lid creaked open, and the familiar tinny melody spilled out. The same carol that had haunted me every Christmas morning. I expected to see folded slips of paper inside, names scrawled in ink. Instead, there was only a scrap torn from a newspaper. The headline read, "Federal Witness Missing in Mysterious Disappearance." The article was dated last month. The witness was a man named Daniel, the same Daniel who'd tried to call his wife when we were inside that facility. The same Daniel I'd seen dragged away with broken ribs. He testified in one of the trials too, and now he was gone. I called Agent Ramirez immediately. She didn't answer. Left a voicemail. Shaky. "I got something delivered. The ribbon. And there's a clipping about Daniel. He's missing. Please call me back." That night, sleep was impossible. I kept replaying every detail in my head. Who knew where I lived? The FBI had relocated me